You're saying the value of the existing property is worth about 550.
Yes.
So he also mentioned that he's quite motivated to get out of the area, and also he doesn't know the value of this.
Luke, welcome to Property Elevator.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here. So I've come from Bath today.
Okay.
And yeah, it's a nice, easy journey.
Yep, good.
Yeah.
And what about the deal? Is the deal also in Bath that you've brought today?
It is. It's actually in the same village that I live in. So it's an off-market deal. It's an interesting one.
Okay.
And I'm very excited to pitch that to the Angels today.
Great.
It's basically an infill plot. So it's a house with grounds, and I'm hoping to build 4 3-bedroom bungalows on that.
Okay, lovely. And so is there anyone in particular that you'd like to work with from the Angels?
I feel after obviously binge watching all of the episodes of Property Elevator, I do feel like John would be a great partner to have on board.
Yeah.
So what I've got for you today is a cracking deal. So what I've done is I've lived in a village called Whitley, which is just outside of Bath for the last 8 years. I started a multi-award winning business there, which put me in an advantageous position to network within the village. That's how I found this deal. It's an infill plot. It's a 4-bed detached property on just over half an acre of garden space. The current vendor has had previous planning accepted, which is now expired for a futuristic eco house on that plot. However, he's actually split from his wife now, and so no longer is interested in developing the land or staying in the area. So that's where our motivation is for our seller. It's an off-market deal. I have gone and I've looked at the plot, and I've looked at that with a builder, a planning officer, and I have looked at it in quite a lot of detail with an architect and a planning consultant as well. And I believe that you can fit 4 3-bedroom detached bungalows on the land. There is actually a covenant on the deeds which state that you can only build 1 property on that land. However, I've gone to a property law expert and also a solicitor, and they've both said that they don't believe that it's enforceable. At that point, I've then gone and spoken to an insurance brokers, and I've provided them with all the information I have, and they have actually said that they would provide an indemnity insurance against deliberate breach of that covenant. So I'm looking today for an investment of 700,000. I will also be investing 125,000 into this deal. I'm looking to split the profits with you 50-50, as I appreciate obviously it's quite a lot to invest, but also I'll be gaining your experience as well. That will give you a 29% ROI. So I understand that I am capable, I have a lot of trust in my own ability, however I'm also realistic. I know that I haven't dealt with a deal of this value before. So that's what I'm seeking today, is just some expertise from you guys and maybe a mentorship as well. I have not approached the vendor at this time with any figures. The reason for that is because I want your advice first, and I don't want to start back and forth if I haven't taken into consideration something that I may have missed. So I want to just try and keep it quite clean. I have considered and asked the vendor about just buying the land, not buying the whole lot, as obviously it reduced the amount of funding and fees associated. However, he said that he's not interested. He doesn't want to live near a construction site, and he wants a nice clean split and sale so he can move up north. The last part of it as well is I also haven't put in a pre-app. The reason for that is that I believe that I will be putting in an offer, a maximum offer of 700,000. I'm hoping actually to try and get it about 650 is the feelers that I'm getting at the moment. But I'm going to do that subject to planning, and with the market at the moment, I don't want to delay things any further than I need to. So I feel that that will streamline things. But again, obviously you guys are the experts.
So looking at the end value, you've got the 4 bungalows in there all at 380,000.
Yep.
And you've placed a value of 550 on the existing house.
Yes.
So would the plan be to just sell that straight on, or would you give it a light refurb?
It does require a light refurb.
Okay.
If we spend 20,000, 25,000 maybe on that, to change the layout slightly and just freshen it, you know, it just needs a lick of paint. It's not actually run down, it's quite a large property, it's got good space. The village itself is really sought after, so I don't think we're going to have any issues selling that. And if we can sell that straight away, then that's a huge chunk to come back into the pot.
Yeah, definitely. Selling it straight away sounds easy, but for the same reason, the vendor doesn't want to sell the plot.
Got the construction.
Selling that, knowing there's going to be 4 houses built and they don't quite know what the layout is yet, might be tricky to do before it's built. But you know, you can try, and you might end up renting it out for a year or 2 until the whole site's finished.
Yeah, I agree with you.
People can see the lay of the land, and then it's a bit easier.
Can I ask you a question
Of course.
on why you have you want to build bungalows at the back. Have you looked into the possibility of building 2-storey houses?
The over 55s market is obviously the fastest growing market in the UK. On top of that, Whitley is kind of a retirement village. So I've lived there for 8 years, so I've got a really good handle of the demographic there. And it is an ageing demographic. It's well connected, you've got bus routes, and it's well connected with Bristol and Bath.
Luke, we don't all want bungalows, do we, Ranjan?
The over 55 market.
We don't all want bungalows.
You know anything about the
I've
over 55
actually sold
market?
quite a few sites to over 55 specialist developers, so I won't say who, but no, I can see why you'd want to do bungalows.
Build costs.
Yes.
£150 a square foot. Most new builders are building at 200 plus at the moment.
I completely appreciate it might look lower to what you'd expect to see. However, I've got experience of building and I have actually managed to come in at £1,200 a square metre. I do appreciate that when this was last taken into consideration, it was last year, and I know that building costs have gone up 30%, so I've added an extra 30% on. In addition to that, the builders that I've got on board and the contractors that, because obviously I'll be project managing, but the builders I've got on board are superb. They are so fast, and I have no issues in terms of the timescale and actually coming under that build cost. But I've also added a contingency as well to try and inflate that.
How much is the contingency?
I've added a 5% contingency
not
on
enough.
top of the
Should
30.
be not enough. Should be 10%.
That's on top of the 30% I've added already. Just as
you haven't added the 30%. That's the realistic. In your view, that's the realistic figure, £150 a foot. Whether it's realistic in our figures, that's different. So we don't want to get confused with saying you've added 30%, you haven't. You've come up with a figure that you think it would be.
If you look at it from the perspective of most builders are building at 200 to 220, they're probably making 20 to 30% profit on that. So you're already well over 30% below that.
Okay.
So.
But to be fair, he's overseeing it himself.
Yeah, of course. Will you be full time? Like, are you still working whilst managing this?
This would be full time.
Okay.
Are you struggling to find your next commercial to residential conversion project? Well, over the next 2 years, virtually every UK bank branch will close. Banks are fabulous buildings in prime locations, and thanks to permitted development rights, they're really easy to convert to alternative uses under a light touch planning regime. My team have put together a list of over 500 UK bank branches which are poised for imminent closure. And for a limited period only, you can download this list absolutely free. Your next commercial property project is on this list, so download it now and enjoy the rest of the video. You did mention this is a sloping site, it slopes to the rear.
Yes.
So there's a lot of groundworks, and then obviously sloping ground, there's more groundworks, and the issue with the light building costs, that's further an issue. How much of a slope is there?
There's not much of a slope. The gradient is fairly minimal. I've also spoken to groundworks experts, and I've factored in the costs of having the utilities and sewage and things like that connected as well, because that's all things that need to be taken into consideration. In addition to the very good point that you raised, I understand it might look conservative to you guys, and I appreciate you're always going to edge on the verge of caution, which makes sense. However, I have actually also calculated it on £1,800 a square metre build costs, and with the expected GDV, that still gives you a 29% return on cost and a 36%
that's a better, more sensible
return
thing to do,
on
Luke,
investment.
to be honest with you.
Yeah. So what I've tried to do with you guys is I've gone with the lowest possible GDV, and then I've gone with the higher end of my costs. And then the figures that I've just given you there, I've gone even higher once more, because I want to I want to undersell and over deliver for you guys.
What I would say, Luke, it's very difficult coming in here and pitching it just right.
Yeah.
And we understand that it's difficult. How long's a piece of string? Unless you've got a report by a QS, a quantity surveyor. That's the only way we're all going to sit here and be more confident than you've shown us. So you've done whatever you can do. That's absolutely fine.
Okay.
So you've said on the build cost, you have worked it out on £1,800.
Yes, I haven't included that in the pack. I've done that since.
Okay, but then you can't possibly have ended up with the same return on investment.
So what I've done is I've factored in the additional costs, and I've not done it on the same, so the figures that I've done through the pack there, I've done on the minimum GDV. Okay. When I've just given you these facts here, I've done it on my expected GDV. So the minimum GDV there is at £3,800 a square metre sale price, and the GDV that is expected and is average for the area, average for the area is £4,250 per square metre. But there are comparables for new build bungalows in a less desirable area, and they're selling for £4,900 a square metre. And
the existing house that's there at the moment, how big is that?
Good point. Good
so they haven't got a floor plan for it, so I haven't got the size of it off the top of my head. It is a 4-bed and it is a really good size. It's approximately, I'd say it's about 150 square metres.
So about 1,500 square feet.
That's not very big for a 4-bedroom
house. It looks bigger than that.
Looks bigger than that.
I think it is larger than that.
2-storey.
But it may not make a lot of difference.
I had a 3-bedroom flat that was that big. That's not big for a...
That
doesn't surprise me. I presume it's in Mayfair as well.
We don't all live in Mayfair penthouses, do we?
It was Zone 1, actually.
It was Zone 1.
Okay,
I think looking at the Google Maps and actually taking into consideration, it is.
I don't think it's going to make
200 square metres.
Well, the reason for the question isn't, I don't care about the size. I want to know if you know the size. But you've got 25 grand allotted to refurb it. Good luck with that, babe.
It does not need a full refurb. So it's been well maintained. The main costs that refurb will go into is just to remove a wall to open up the downstairs to try and give it a bit more of a modern feel, because it's got a little bit of a corridor which isn't necessary.
The problem when you start, in my view, and you might say I'm wrong, and if you think I am, say so. But in my experience, you either don't do anything or you have to do a lot, because once you do one thing in a property, the rest of it looks, and sometimes less is more. You're best to do nothing with it, put it on the market, let everyone else, because they all think they can do it cheaper than you can anyway. DIY and all the rest of it, and they might be able to. I always am tempted, and Nicholas perhaps disagrees slightly with me, I'm always tempted to do absolutely nothing, and just because as soon as you start, you don't know where to stop.
You've agreed this price of 700k?
No, I haven't approached the vendor with the price at all.
Okay, so because you're saying the value of the existing property is worth about 550.
Yes.
So he also mentioned that he's quite motivated to get out of the area, and also he doesn't know the value of this.
So the reason the land is valued less is because he believes it's only value for one property on that land. It's because of the covenant. However,
I see.
I've done
you've
so
done it.
That's where I'm trying to.
I get it.
We get
you. That's fantastic.
I would be willing to offer you half the money.
Okay.
So I'm only willing to do this if one of the other angels will do it with me.
Right.
Simply because the 700,000 is generally beyond what I'd be willing to put in.
I don't think you need that. I mean,
I don't think you need that.
You probably don't, but you need...
You probably need about half the purchase price, don't you? If you're funding all the development, about half the purchase price.
I'd have thought if you put
about
in...
350,
depending on how you fund
400, so 400 total maybe.
Sorry.
Yeah,
depending on his offer, won't it? Because you don't need that much, so.
Yeah, it might do.
And he always buddies up with him anyway.
Doesn't want to buddy up with beat you somehow, haven't we?
Doesn't want to buddy up with Ranjan.
It's nice to see some other people sharing
too.
Well, I'm doing a deal with Paul. I'm doing a deal with Paul at the moment, actually.
Your reputation precedes you.
It obviously depends on how it's funded. You could use bridging or something to buy the house initially, but that's going to be expensive as well. Whether that's the best way to do it or not, I'm not sure. I don't think it's the best way to do it, because if I get onto the rest of my offer, that will make more sense. So I'd be willing to give you half the money with another angel giving you the rest. Whether it's 700, whether it's 500, 400, whatever, we'll give you half each if someone else is willing to do this with me.
Okay.
On the basis that the existing house be sold immediately.
Right.
And we get our money back.
Okay.
And you either get planning or even just pre-planning on the rest and sell it with planning. Buying it, selling the house, whether that be with a light renovation or not, doesn't really matter. Adding some value, whether that be through a pre-planning or a full planning application, there's money in it to be made, and relatively quickly.
Okay, so you're looking for a faster turnaround to be safer on your
I think in the current market, that's the sensible play.
I agree with Paul, and I'll be in with Paul.
Okay, so essentially I've got one full offer.
You have?
That's good. That's good news.
Listen, I think you've got a very good offer from these two guys, and I have to say, it hurts me to say, but between them, they are probably the dream team for you.
Right.
You know, one's young and relates to you, and the other
you've got Paul.
And the other one's coming along for the ride because he doesn't know where Wiltshire is. But
I was going to say it's outside the M25.
That's fair enough. I don't think I can add any more. But what I would say, you've come in here, you look smart, you look professional, you've answered every question. Yes. Congratulations.
I'm not sure about this deal. I really like you, and I'd love to work with you. And do business with you. This is where I normally go, I'll offer you some of the business, blah, 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 which I might, but it's got no planning. I think 4 units on it is bullish. I'm looking at the 4th unit on the drawing, which is sideways onto the other units.
You've got to do
planning. So. Yes.
And that is with the advice from an architect and a local planning consultant.
My commercial advice is I don't think you'll get 4 on there. I think you'll get 3, if you're lucky. It's got planning for 1. We don't know how hard that was to get. The fact that it's some eco, lovely jubbly home probably means
made it easier to get.
That it made it easier to get, and it was a battle to get 1 home on there.
Right. Okay.
That's the reason I don't think you'll get 4 on there, and that's probably the main reason on this particular deal.
Okay.
But I think you're brilliant. I'd love to work with you, and hopefully, once you realise these guys are going to let you down, you can come back to me.
Unbelievable. Okay.
Well, that's a pity that Nick didn't offer, because me and Nick have been trying to do a deal on here for 5 series now.
Sorry.
4 series
You're
now.
not allowed to change your mind.
And
they're the rules.
And I would have split it with him, but by myself, it's just, with all the best will in the world to you, this is, I am on the hands-off side of things. Okay. And as your first out of the ground development, it's just, it's got hard work written all over it. And
Okay.
But you have a fabulous offer, so
I think you've got
a good offer.
I do.
But you don't have to take it, of course, Alex. Entirely up to you what you want to do.
It's very difficult because I do see the end goal, and because I've spent such a long time in the village, I really truly believe that the GDV that I've put in is so conservative.
Can I stop you there and give you some
advice? You
advice?
can always build it for the person you
Do
sell
not
it to.
talk yourself out of a deal. Get in the deal with these guys and persuade them. Persuade them that they should build it out and put some proper money into the deal.
This is what I'm trying to do now.
Exactly.
I really do, and I'm tempted. I don't know whether there's a way that we can do, change it so there's a profit share changes more in your favour if I get over the GDV, if that would entice you to do the full build, because I really, really believe in it that much.
At the end of the day, we will do what makes the most sense for making money, and if you can change our minds with regards to building it out, then that's possible.
Yeah.
But on the surface of it right now, that's what we view as being the most sensible option in today's market.
You're young, you're ambitious, you've got all this enthusiasm, which is fantastic, and we love to see. Do you know what that also brings? A hell of a lot of risk, because currently what I see is you have rose-tinted glasses on and you're focusing on that you're going to make this much money. You might lose money, which is why you need the experience and the level-headedness of 2 very, very experienced angels.
Okay.
And like I say, it's what I love about developers, their enthusiasm, but sometimes it just needs like the bubble popper, which I tend to be, as John knows, to just bring you down and just say, I know, we get it, we see it, but actually this is the best decision for now and for where we are.
I think in light of this whole conversation, I'd like to accept your offer. Cheers, thank you.
Well done.
Thank you so much.
I think he's so investable, a nice man. I think you two guys are going to do really well with him.
Yeah, he's very investable, fantastic team. But the other thing is, I think there's scope for getting that cheaper than 700k.
You would think that. You think that on everything.
There's plenty of scope for that. And then obviously if that can be spun out.
Yeah, if you do and you get rid of you flip the house,
exactly.
There's no money left.
The
There's barely any
key
money
to
left.
these deals, and you get so many of them where people say, oh, I'm buying a house and it's got 2 plots. Big deal. Get rid of that damn house straight away, because that's the big lump of cash that's costing you a fortune to fund.
Yeah.
And be left with, and if you can just buy the land, it's far easier than having to shift a big house as part of the deal. So, but congratulations. I think that's, perhaps you and I should have, we should have teamed up.
But you don't share.
Well, I don't like sharing normally, I have to say.
Special exception for me.
There could be a special exception for a special lady.
The Baker Street Property Meet is the UK's largest and #1 property investors networking event. The property market is going through monumental change right now, and at Baker Street Property Meet we aim to keep you up to date with the latest tips and tricks and insider tactics to help you keep on top of your property investing game and succeed in these troubled economic times. The Baker Street Property Meet is fundamentally about networking, because it's not what you know, it's who you know. And at Baker Street we aim to connect you with the people to make your property journey a monumental success. There's no better place to be to further your property investment journey than the Baker Street Property Meet. So make sure you're here, you're connecting with myself and Andrew Roberts, our expert guest speakers and 300 passionate property people each and every month. See you at the next meet. Get your spot at bakerstreetpropertymeet.com.